we had to take something, and we got on stage one time, and it just wouldn't work. It was like this $10,000 illusion, and the damn thing just wasn't about to work because it was a mechanical issue. So it comes out and it starts, and I'm just like, kill the music, and they had them push it off stage, and I was just like, okay, on with the show. So as a host of all this stuff and as a performer, as long as it doesn't bother you, as long as they don't see it really, get to you, and you just move right on with the show, and then get back into entertaining people, and maybe have a little, maybe make a little sarcastic comment about it. However you're going to deal with it, So I just deal with it. Sometimes I'll make a quick joke, and then on with the show. So as long as it doesn't, you get to a point. I've done so many damn shows, you're just kind of unflappable. I mean, it's mechanical, and not everything goes as it's supposed to 100% of the time. Things can break, people can make mistakes, or if somebody, like you say, if somebody that really wasn't paying attention to their training or not doing the right thing, then they're not going to be working the next show. That's just that's just the reality of that. I mean, if it is truly squarely on them, and it wasn't a mechanical thing or a misunderstanding, if somebody just didn't do what they were supposed to do, then that's another issue, and then you have to deal with that, and usually that means they're not meant for that gig.
Yeah, I noticed some of your pictures, too. You were photographed with Elvira, the Mistress of the Night.
Yes, the Mistress of the Dark. And I've met Elvira, Cassandra Peterson, many times. She is awesome and lovely. And if you guys, I can't say enough great things about her. If you guys ever get a chance to do a meet and greet with her somewhere in a horror convention or an event, or, she's done some charity work and everything as well, go see her, go say hi. Tell her to the Master of the Dark Rose to say hi. Because I love her. And she's kind of Elvira's kind of my dream date, I think. Yeah, I'm quite enamored with her. She's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I used to watch, Up All Night.
Movie Macabre.
Yeah. And, it's a bummer. All of a sudden, one day I went to tune in and it was no longer there. And, then you look at all these other people on that still do it. And it's just not the same. I mean, I couldn't wait for the commercials.
Yeah. Well, there's something about it. I mean, the whole horror genre, if you go back and look, it all started with Vampira back in the 50s. And so I think there's just something about the ladies hosting that there's some nice intrigue. It gets the sex and death right, I guess is what I'm saying. And that's part of it, and their styles were kind of similar. They're both kind of based, Elvira and Vampira, are both kind of based on Morticia Addams. That look kind of goes back into the Charles Addams cartoon, because clearly before there was a television show, Vampira was on, but it was, was still that look was gleaned from Morticia. And then, Elvira came and did her own thing with it. And of course, showing a lot more cleavage, and, we can only say thank you to her for that.
Oh, yeah.
Because she looks amazing in that damn dress.
And she still looks at her age.
She went with it. Actually they sued, the Vampira, Myra Nierme sued Elvira later, and she lost the lawsuit. Elvira won that, I believe. So there was some stuff there, but I like the female host a lot. I mean, there's the guy that I know. We have Swinguli here in Chicago, and Sven's out, and he's a great guy, and he's out all over the country now on television. He's on a network now that gets him out all over the place, and he's got fans all over now. But I've worked many times with him at different events. But yeah, there is something about the horror host genre. And I think my favorite to this day is still really Elvira, because I thought she had it all right. It was a great polished look, and I liked her naughty, dark but naughty humor. Works for me because dark, sticky fun. Hello.
Oh yeah.
It certainly it ticked all the boxes for me and for a lot of people. So I liked her presentation, but I also thought it had the best kind of production value, because you see a lot of guys, and women do it now, and not all of them are as polished as Elvira. Some of them are very homespun, kind of laid-back shows, and I don't think all of them have the developed character and everything that Elvira had. But, that being said, I know a lot of horror hosts across the whole country, and there's a lot of awesome people out there, and you don't know all of them. Some of them are in smaller markets. A lot of them are now, they take their shows and they put them on the internet and everything. And, there's a bunch of people out there still doing it. So just when you think, maybe you just haven't gotten matched up with the right horror host or hostess, but I know a lot of these men and women that still do this. And it's intriguing to me that even in the 21st century, this goes on. It's just kind of done in a different way. I think there's some inherent problems in the horror host, genre, which is, when you see, you get different people, and because they're looking for public domain movies, you're all hosting the same kind of movies again and again and again. And that can be problematic too. Some of them gotten into hosting and reaching out and getting into some indie horror and stuff like that, which is very cool. And then you're seeing films you haven't seen a million times, as well as new and different hosts. So I think it's really fun. I incorporate a little bit of that vibe into what I'm doing, maybe not as much as I used to. There's a little bit of horror host kind of vibe to my old cable TV show, Fitzgerald's Realm. So a lot of people put me in that category with horror hosts because of that show, even though I wasn't hosting really movies. I hosted one or two movies. One of them I hosted was Attack of the Giant Leeches, that campy, classic. And a lot of times I just showed horror movie trailers along with some videos and a bunch of other weird stuff in my cable TV show, and that was back in the early 90s. So I have a great affinity because of that show and because of just loving horror so much. I have a great affinity for all the horror hosts. But my favorite still to this day, Elvira by far.
And she was a good actress. She made a couple movies too, and it's just her personality, her sex charm. It comes off. Of course, when you see her without her makeup, she's still attractive. And
she's gorgeous. She's a redhead, and she's just, because she looks amazing. Whether she's in Elvira or her alter ego, Cassandra Peterson, she's a gorgeous woman.
Yeah, also going into like Sci-Fi Channel, years ago, Sci-Fi used to be, they would show more creative type of horror type sci-fi movies than they do now. And I don't know if some of these people, I don't know what's going on. Even Comet TV, which is, a cable network. Yeah, they show horror movies, but all of a sudden they went from showing all these B movies, which I used to, when they were showing them, when I wasn't on the air, or as soon as I got off the air, I'd be watching it. But all of a sudden they started getting into Stargate and all these type of shows, which like Sci-Fi did, all the other networks did, and they seemed to been getting away from showing, the original intent of what the network was. And a lot of people, I did not realize, and I apologize, that how big the fan base is for horror movies and sci-fi movies on Facebook. In fact, I'm going to be we're working on it now, bringing Jason Boyd on our show as doing a show twice a month on our network, and he is really into the horror sci-fi movies. Collecting the Mask, and I had him on my show several times. He's a walking encyclopedia for horror movies, and there is a huge following, and I don't understand these networks that are getting away from it. Even if you go watch Sci-Fi, it's not like it was 5 years ago. Comet, like I said, started out showing all these Class B, monster movies and space movies. And now it's Stargate. Nothing wrong. I like Stargate, and Andromeda and all that stuff. But they got away from the original intent. And that makes it really hard, for people to go and find that type of stuff, on cable.
Well, it is. And people talk about this for the longest time. I've had this same discussion with many, many people about the programming on the Sci-Fi Channel, and how it kind of got away from sci-fi and even some of their original series, and then it seemed like late night it was all horror, but super schlocky horror, and then they got into the ultimate schlock of the Sharknado movies, which were kind of a nostalgia with, actors from the 80s, along with this bad, flying Sharknado, sharks in a tornado thing, that whole thing. Which is, it's funny for one movie, but how many times can you do it and then people come back? I couldn't believe they were making like 2, 3, 4 of these things. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Or more.
I'm like, who is giving you money to do that? So,
maybe they
I don't
were
know.
sitting in a room smoking something.
That was about it for me.
Maybe they were in a room smoking something and come up with, hey, let's do sharks, where they fall from the sky, and you cut them up with chainsaws if they don't get you.
I do have to admit that I think if you are drinking or, smoking, the herb, then you're probably going to have a lot more fun with those movies.
Yeah, I would think so, because I can tell you,
if you altered your state for the movie, then I think, then probably, it's like the Full Moon Evil Bong movies. I'm pretty sure you have to be stoned to enjoy those. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Now I'm a cheap drunk, guys. I get drunk on one beer, and that could even be the light beer. I drink one beer and I'm totally gone. But you know what? Some of the worst sci-fi movies that were ever made, I really enjoyed it after I had my Budweiser.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's something about, kind of relaxing and being able to enjoy that. And sometimes, that's exactly what people want. It depends on what you're in the mood for. You want serious horror? Do you want something that's fun and like the 80s, or do you want something that's like totally slashery and gory? There's a lot of different kinds. And then there's a lot of, like super indie, low budget kind of things that are campy because they are trying to be serious, some of those old ones. But, the more serious they were trying to be, the more campy they became, It was like that kind of campy that, you're not trying to recreate camp, you're not trying to make camp, it just turned out that way.
Well, I
think those are some of the truest kind of camp movies that there are.
Well, the ones I don't like is when you have these women dressed as macho, fighters out in the jungle, right? Wearing a white tank top without something underneath it, wearing tiny shorts, right? And they're carrying their plastic M16s with them. And the movie doesn't have any plot really to it other than, I guess what they are dressed like, and they're on. And you watch the movie and you go, after it's over, you go, I can't remember what even the beginning of the movie was, because it had no plot really. And that's, I hate to say it.
You're squarely in the exploitation zone with those movies, and it's all about the eye candy.
Yeah, but I don't know if you classify them as horror movies, sci-fi movies, or just eye candy movies. I don't know. I tell you, I did.
Well, there's a lot of crossover. I think you can have crossover with the exploitation genre, along with certainly with horror. A lot of horror films are like that. And there's a lot of provocative stuff in there, boobs and blood, that drives a lot of horror, a lot of indie horror especially. But you can also see it in the sci-fi genre as well. So, all of those kind of, grindhouse elements of horror and sci-fi and dark genre films and exploitation can all mingle together in certain things,
Yeah. I don't know. I still just like the, scary type ones, like Alien or Predator or stuff like that, where you kind of sit back, and you really get into it and you get scared, scared shitless.
Yes. Well, that's what everybody shows up for. A lot of the horror fans really do like, they want a good story. They want a great monster or something happening, and they want a scare. They want it to be, scary and or gory or bloody, but they want it to be intense. And that's what people are looking for. But there's a lot of different ways to approach that horror and stuff. And, what makes it fun for different people. And that, there's so many different, subgenres of horror. It's amazing.
Now, that's what something, I guess it's all about money or lack of money. I don't know. I don't know if that's it, because even sci-fi